We are absolutely delighted to have two keynote speakers with us this morning. Our first keynote speaker, Scott Fletcher, MBE, will be stimulating our thoughts on our conference theme in his keynote presentation shortly. Let me just briefly introduce Scott to you. Scott Fletcher is the founder of leading Manchester IT business A&S. Scott is an exceptional example of someone who is never afraid to challenge. He has grown his firm from founding it at the age of 22 into a £47 million business, employing more than 170 people, which is now part of a £100 million portfolio headed by Scott. Scott is actively involved in the Manchester business community and charitable sectors. But what is really inspirational about Scott is how he now puts his knowledge to work to benefit the region through his leading role on Manchester LEP, but more importantly, perhaps, simply tipping up to spend time with young entrepreneurs and ambitious growth businesses. And for that, we thank you, and we're delighted to have Scott with us today. Scott Fletcher.
Thank you. Is this on? Good. Okay, well, welcome. Great introduction to Manchester. I had a whole slide on that, so I'm not going to do that. But I'm Manchester born and bred, and it is a great city. If you're visiting, please stay for the weekend. You'll love it. Go and enjoy it. Manchester United are playing at home, the best football team in the world, and it's one of the best clubs here. So please, I grew up here. It made me the person I am, and I'm very proud to be a Mancunian. I'd like to thank the Institute for inviting me. Very honoured. I'd never thought I'd be teaching teachers, a lot of teachers in the room, PhD people, these sort of people. I never went to uni. I just got on with life and ended up in my first job as what would be called an apprentice now, a YTS. So I'm pretty honoured to be sort of sat here trying to tell you how to suck eggs. But maybe what I've got is maybe some real world experience that you can take into your research and into your teaching and take that on and actually build that in. So I think sometimes, if there was a theme as I'm thinking about what I might talk about today, that we over-research things and actually don't get on and do things. And something that I say to young people and young entrepreneurs is about doing, not about over-analysing or over-analysing. Okay, so that thing of just effing do it is my theme of life. And if you look at how I got to where I've got today, it is always about that. Every time I come up against a barrier, I push through it, I step forward. So, you know, if that's a single message, I could get off the stage now, take that away. Yeah? Tell students to get out there and go and do it and get on with it. I'm not a professional speaker, by the way. Okay? I don't do this for a living. I run businesses. So, hopefully, I do like talking, though, as you can probably tell. Hopefully you can get a small nugget of what I'm going to talk about today. So, we talked about Manchester, so we'll give that one a miss. It's a bit about me, then. So, I'm an entrepreneur, and that's what I like to call myself. So what makes an entrepreneur? What's the difference between a business person or somebody that does business, because you can teach that, I reckon, versus an entrepreneur who goes the extra level? What's that missing ingredient? Well, for me, it was my upbringing, and it was a fire in my belly and a never say die attitude. And I think if you look around most entrepreneurs who are successful, they've all got a story that will drive them through to that next level. And for me, it was my dad. It's been live streamed, so watch what I say, I don't want to upset him. But he gave me that drive because of something that happened in his personal life when I was younger, which meant he had to leave home, etc. And I thought, I don't want that to happen to me. And that gave me that fire in my belly. And before you know it, 20 years later, you've got a business you've built because you've consistently never said no and never took no for an answer and always got on with business. And I think that's the difference, because a lot of people will stop and not take that action. So my upbringing, I'm a local lad from Droylsden. It's literally 3 miles away. They built Manchester City Stadium near it now, so I had to move away. Had a fairly tough upbringing, as I've just pointed out. But I worked in a corner shop. I had a paper round. I think nowadays young people are missing some of that, by the way. You know, we have to give young people opportunities to work. I worked all the way from the age of 12. I was a child actor as well, so I got out of the education system. I think that's one of the reasons I do well, actually, because I got to see the real world. So that's important as well, giving people real life experiences. I sold watches at school. I sold cockles and mussels around the pubs, and I also made a few. I did as well. And I also made a few mistakes. Remember Manchester United going back into Europe in 1991, European Cup Winners' Cup final. I thought I've got a really good entrepreneurial idea. Because I thought, well, what football fans do when they go on a coach all the way over to Rotterdam, 12-hour or so journey, is they're going to want to sleep on the coach. And they're going to want to sleep and catch up on the sleep so they can get there. They're going to be drinking a lot. No, football fans don't do that. They get drunk and drunker and drunker. I tried to sell them pillows. So I thought, I'll buy them for 50p, sell them for a couple of quid, make my beer money for when I get there. I think I sold one. I had about 100 with me. I think they ended up in the North Sea somewhere. So it just shows that actually you do make mistakes even in young entrepreneurship. And that's an important thing as well for entrepreneurs. They've got to make mistakes. And in our country, actually, we don't let that happen enough. And actually, a mistake is one step closer to getting good at what you do. So I think we should allow people to make mistakes and make more mistakes and back them to make mistakes, actually, and expect them to fail in some respects, because that's how they're going to learn. So my first job was a YTS in the middle of a recession. To get my job, I had to borrow some money to buy a car. The interest rate was 37.2%. Okay? And I took it so I could go and get a job on £48 a week. So, when you look at people talk about challenges in today's economy or the last 5 years in the recession and everything else, rubbish. It's not been that bad. That was bad. That was a proper recession. Yeah, that was serious. That was where, you had to go and do stuff. So again, I didn't take no for an answer. Went and got my job, became a computer programmer, quickly learnt a lot more about life, and quickly got into a job where a company went from 50 people to 6 people in the first 6 months that I was in my role. So suddenly, I'm 17, 18, in a business where there's loads of opportunity. 50 people down to 6, how's that opportunity? Well, it's an opportunity for me, because suddenly I went, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to answer the phone, I'm going to send the invoices out, I'm going to do the cash flow forecast for the MD. I'm 17, 18 doing an MBA on the job. So that for me was like rapid. It was like, if you didn't survive, you're out of a job. So we survived, and we got bought. So I went through my first acquisition at 19. And I was the guy with all the knowledge. And then suddenly I was managing 20 people, and I moved to Milton Keynes, and before you know it, I'm 21, and I've done what most people have done in a whole career in the first 3 or 4 years. Why? Because I kept saying yes, and I kept taking action, and I kept saying, well, bring it on. This is an opportunity. This isn't a threat. This isn't like something to moan about. This is an opportunity to get stuck in. And that's what I did every time. Before you knew it, this company I worked for went bust. So again, was that an opportunity? Most of my colleagues moaned about it for weeks. Within 2 days, I had A&S set up. I was living in Milton Keynes at the moment, set up in Manchester, and I took 4 people on. And within a week, we had our first 100 grand a year coming into the business, just by ringing customers and asking, can we do this for you? How many people would have done that? What was that difference? We can research the hell out of that, can't we? Or we can say, actually, the difference was just doing it, just getting on with it. And that was the difference for me. And I could have moaned, I could have whatever, and I didn't. So where am I now? Well, 50% of my time is on A&S, 30% of my time is on other businesses, and you talked about the local community stuff that I do as well. And I think 20% is leisure, but who am I kidding? So probably most of that goes on that area. But I do love things like skiing, I sit on the LEP, and I love to party. I think you should celebrate life. Turned 40 last year, went to Ibiza for a week and proved I could still do it. I'm just about over it now, about 18 months later, by the way. So I know I haven't got a lot of time. I've got about another 15 pages here, so I'm going to try and rush through. But A&S was started in a back bedroom in '96. It was an IT reseller. Every year it has to reinvent itself. Every year the IT industry moves so quickly. 5 years ago, nobody knew what the cloud was. I was attending a conference in New York talking about it. So that whole cloud thing is just something completely new. But then if you go back, when I started A&S, you didn't have things like email to the desktop. You might have done in university actually, but you didn't in general business life. We had ISDN modems. We didn't have broadband internet, and people didn't have mobile phones. I had a big brick thing. So, where were we in '96 versus where we are now? So when we talk about innovation, actually a lot of innovation is just in the now. A lot of innovation is innovating businesses today and changing the way we do business. And I mean, a shining example of that, I would say, was AO.com. Why has AO.com been really successful? They changed one thing. They deliver you an item today or first thing in the morning, and a big item as well. That's all they basically did. Not that much of an innovation, but I tell you what, I'll use them every time over Dixon's or Comet now, because they're saying 7 days, 14 days, coming from the manufacturers. That was it, innovative. But it wasn't massive IP or anything like that. They just got on and did it. And actually, we were talking just in the breakout room, weren't we, that Actually, sometimes it's not all about IP either. It's about just getting on with it and getting first to market. I think that's the key. Back to A&S then. So first year we turned over 300k, then 600, then 1.2 million. My first cash book had 10 lines in it for the first month. And that's a £50 million turnover business. It's crazy. I mean, approaching 200 people, London and Manchester. We started selling PCs. One of the things I would say, one of the things that makes A&S different is it being a fun place to work. By the way, this is the stuff that I talk to young people about. So if you're just wondering where this content's come from, it literally came off my laptop. This is the sort of stuff I talk for about an hour on normally. And I talk to young people about what should make your business different. So by all means, take some of this and pass it on. Make your business a fun place to work. I mean, good stuff, fun place to work, and sweets to eat as well, love it. So there are some free ones to give out as well, aren't there? I've got no gifts, I'm not bearing gifts. It's all about culture and values. And by the way, we talk about multicultural. It's a great buzzword, but actually it's about one culture. Whether that be in business or in life, it's about people coming together and achieving an end result. And I think that's what Manchester does really well, by the way. We bring cultures from all around the world and we make our own culture that is the Mancunian culture, and we get on with it. I've got an amazing board now. I mean, I really have a team around me, having the best people around me to deliver on the vision for the company. Without that, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing. So that is something I think over time, you learn to recruit the best people and people who are better than you. So, how long have I got? 5 minutes, God. I'm halfway through. Getting started. So, what are the major milestones? Well, getting started was one of them. Taking on a bookkeeper, taking on the first salesperson, sacking my business partner. The person I started with didn't share the same vision. So we can't have two visions. Had to buy her out. And it could have ended up in disaster because I had to basically use all the profits from the business over a 12-month period. And if we hadn't missed the numbers, we wouldn't have done it. But here I am today, having made that decision and not taking no for an answer. She wanted to take money out of the business. I said invest it. And that's one of the themes of one of the sessions, actually, is about reinvesting profits of a business versus pulling them out and spending it. It's important, certainly in the early stages of a business, you keep those two things separate. That is the oil that oils the machine of business, cash. Cash is absolutely king. Don't take it out. Raising finance, buying my first company, first £1 million profit, taking on ops and sales director, sacking lots of our partners. So in the early days, we just did anything for anybody. Getting focused on what you're good at. And when we did that, we went from 10 million turnover to 50 in about 3 years. Because we focused on 3 particular partners, Cisco, NetApp and VMware, and we went for it. And we massively grew on the back of that focus. Before that, we had about 30 partners. So changing that, basically what you get where focus goes, energy flows, and that's what goes behind it. That's a Tony Robbins one, that. Getting a bigger office, giving you goldfish. I've got 15 minutes. Okay, cool. Slow down again. Getting a bigger office. Talk about fish in a pond. If you give them more space, they're going to grow more. You see that in life as well. I think if you have some guts to move offices and give yourself a bit more space, you generally find you'll find things to do in that space. You'll recruit more people and you will grow. And that's what happened to us too. Sacking myself was a big milestone. So becoming chairman and actually realising that actually if I sit there as a leader and the vision setter for the business and give people the job of doing it, actually they'll probably do a better job than me now. Because I am more interested in getting out and talking to people and setting up new businesses, and that's what I enjoy. So getting that team around you. Selling some of my shares to Nigel Ray. Raised £1 million for myself, managed to move house, moved from Droylsden because I built that stadium. Yeah. Investing in the cloud. So one of those major milestones was raising finance. And every business has this problem, and I could do a whole session on this. But just a few things to say. Raising finance when you're a startup is generally the 3 Fs. You don't know what 3 Fs are? Friends, family, and fools. Okay? Because most startups will fail. Yeah? So that's why government tend to have startup loans and this sort of thing, because that area is the most difficult area. Obviously banks, which haven't been that great the last few years. Debtor book finance, angels, VCs, customers, suppliers, credit cards, leasing. And then I hear this thing, particularly people coming from the public sector in the main, they talk about funding versus investment. You don't particularly fund a business. You don't get funding. You don't get grants, really, in general. But people will invest in you if you've got the right idea and the right passion, the right drive. And I think that's another, it's just that it's language, but people go, oh, nobody's funding me. It's like, well, do they want to invest in you? Is it something worth investing in? Can you communicate that investment proposition? Are you passionate enough that you won't say no when you hit those barriers? And then somebody like me will go, bloody hell, he's worth investing in, she's worth investing in, they're worth investing in, let's put some money in. That's an investment. And I think we got to the point where we thought that banks' jobs were to fund businesses and just dish money out willy-nilly. Well, no, actually, I think we've got back to the norm now, which is businesses need to be investable. But saying that, raising finance, don't be afraid to ask the question. I had a lad who I've invested in. He contacted me on Twitter. He begged me to go to a coffee shop and meet him. I said no. I said no about 5 times. Eventually, I said, OK, 7:30 Sunday morning in Costa in Hale. And he said, yeah, I'll be there. I gave him half an hour, sent him away because his plan was rubbish. A month later, he came back again. A month later, he came back again, and I invested in him. OK, so tenacity, and the reason I invested in him, by the way, is because of that persistence and the fact that he knew, and he'd been bankrupt, by the way. So I learned more about him over time. He didn't want to tell me that initially. I said, OK, what's your story? What's going on? His uncle had ripped him off. He already had a business that worked 3 years ago. He'd been right to the bottom, bankrupt, and came out the other side and said, you know what, I'm going to show him. And I went, that's it. That's what I had. That's the difference between getting there and not. And you know what? I said, right, I will put 100k in the business as a loan, and the loan will come in, and it will come back out as soon as possible. He paid me back in 3 months. And he turned over nearly £1 million in the first year. Crazy. From a tweet. So this guy's from Stretford, great guy, Jason Jacku. He's been up for a few awards recently. Fantastic. So, yeah, I would have brought him, actually. Should have brought him. People invest in people, and that's that same story. I'm investing in Jason. The idea, all they do, I say all they do, they repair surfaces. Rather than replace things, they repair it. It's a very simple business. It's not that innovative, really. But you know what? That guy will make it happen. And that's what business is about. And that's, again, what Manchester, I believe, is about. There's people in this city that just make things happen, all the way from the leadership down. Remember, no doesn't always mean no. Could mean not now. People are busy. Keep asking. But if you are raising finance, it's important to know your numbers. It's important to know the difference between profit and cash flow. You have these businesses that are really profitable, but actually they go bust. Why is that? And I've got a good example. A friend of mine imports salt from Himalayas. He has to pay it on order because obviously it's Himalayan guys digging it out of the ground. They need the money to pay the wages. It takes 3 months or so to get into the UK. Then they repackage it. Then they put it on the retail shelves. And before you know it, it's been 6, maybe 9 months before they get paid. So actually they could be getting massive orders, ordering this stuff and running out of cash very quickly. But it looks very profitable in a spreadsheet. So it's really important that people remember, turnover vanity, profit sanity, but cash is king. Without you collecting that cash, you've not sold anything. And again, a lot of businesses don't necessarily remember that, and they do overtrade and go out of business. Raise money when you don't need it. So when businesses are going well, that's the time to raise money. And remember VCs. VCs are good. Personally, I've never had a VC involved in my business, but they have to strangle kittens. Right? Which is nasty. But what I'm saying there is they will kill your business if it's not going in the right direction. So be aware that if you go into VC territory, you have to deliver. And it's probably not for a startup. It's probably stage 2 or 3 of finance raising when you really know your business, you know your numbers, and you know, I just need money now to deliver on this. And you deliver for them, they'll be your best friend. If you don't, they do strangle kittens. And that was a VC that said that to me. The other observation I have of business is that you always get to some kind of plateau. And you sort of go on and you'd have a 3 or 4 year spurt where you really grow, and then you get to a point where what we've just been doing the last 3 or 4 years has stopped working. And you've got to reinvent yourself, change your business model. That isn't the time to quit. That's the time to knuckle down and find out what it is to change. And what you'll find is that'll happen for a year or two, and then it'll go again. And that's what I've found consistently over the last 20 years. And what you tend to do is you grow really quickly, and then you go, oh, hang on, are we making much profit? No, we've grown, right? Okay, how do we now make sure that the numbers are looking right, and then we'll go again. You do tend to pop out of plateau, that's a good thing, and pop out pretty quickly. An example I'll give was in the early days of A&S, we got to about between 3 and 5 million turnover, making 200-300 grand a year, and we did that for about 5 years. And the reason we were plateauing actually was my mentality. I was now making a few quid, had a nice car, living in a nice area, you know, things were going great, I was going out every weekend, and I was treating it more like a job for a bit, if I'm honest. And suddenly my finance director said, look, I've got this guy to come and meet you. And I said, oh yeah? He said, oh, he's interested in buying a business. And he offered me what I saw as a derisory term. It's probably the right price based on where we were. It was a derisory amount of money, about 2 million quid, and I said, no, not doing that. I said, right, what's going on here? Why have you brought him in? He said, well, Scott, you've been coasting for 3 years. I came here to succeed. What are we doing about it? And I said, right, well, what we're going to do then, we're going to set £1 million profit as a target, and we'll do that in 3 years. Guess how long it took? 18 months. Plateau for 5 years, but we set a target, we went for it, and we got there in 18 months. It was mad. So it just shows you that actually, again, it's about focus, and it's about changing your model and asking the better question, actually, because the way we did that, we didn't say, can we get to £1 million profit? We had to believe we could get there and then ask the question about what do we need to do to get to £1 million profit? When we asked the question like that, we got all the answers. So again, psychology. And if you ask me what's the difference, again, between people that do and people that don't, it's a psychology, it's an approach. It's a going, I'm not having this, I'm going to go for it again. So what are some of the things I've learned? And this should take us into a nice close, about 5 minutes, I'm guessing now. Good. So talked before about where focus goes, energy flows, setting that £1 million target. The importance of momentum. You know, if you stood still on the spot and try and walk forward, it's actually quite difficult to get there. Whereas you take that first step and you do that, the next one and the next one seem a hell of a lot easier. So just getting people moving, get some momentum in what they're doing, and again, not overanalyzing things, but actually getting on and getting out there, rather than maybe doing some market research, do it in a different way, pick up the phone and ask the question. Don't do an online bloody survey monkey. You know, because the people that respond are the people who are probably not the people you want to speak to be honest. You know, ring up the MD of a company and say, if I had this product, would you buy it? Yes, okay. And if it was priced around here, is that within your business model? Yes, right, cool, next. It's just a different approach about people. People need to get from behind the computer a lot of the time. It's about interpersonal skills a lot of this. Feel the fear and do it anyway. There's a book about that as well, but it's true. It's funny. I've got twin boys. One would go on the what do we call it? At the water parks. The one that goes like that. One wouldn't. One just went okay. The other one went I'm going down. What's the difference? Personality. But actually, he's going to have to work out in life that when you feel that fear, that's not the time to run. That's the time to step forward. That's the time to make it happen. And again, I can come up with loads of examples of that. Asking that better question. And when you have to make it work, you generally will. We'll talk about the concept of burning the boats. When you arrive on an island and you've got to face the natives on the island and you're there to attack them and you've got your boats and they come running at you with spears. If you've not burnt the boats, you're going to get back on the boats and try and run away, aren't you? So burn the boats and get on with it and take that fight on, whatever that is in business. Read lots. Hire people who are better than you. Quality of your people is everything. The quality of the people in a business is everything. And that's something, again, bringing it back to Manchester. We've got the best universities in the UK, if not the world. And we've got some of the best people in Manchester. And we want to keep the talent in Manchester as well. So as much activity is going on here as possible. Read lots. Look after your engine. Your health is everything. No point in spending 20 years slaving away and then not having time to enjoy it. Celebrate your successes. Don't overstress your failures. Know your numbers. HR departments create HR problems. Anybody studying HR here? It's funny, if you have an HR team that are specialists in HR law, obviously there's a point where you need to protect yourself here, but you know, sometimes, again, taking the personal approach with people and saying, come on, what's going on here? Can we sort this out? You tend to get a lot further. And touch wood, we've had nothing serious in 20 years. So, and we tend to take that approach. Of course, we have HR advice and everything else, but I do believe that if you over-HR and over-engineer that area of business, you get caught up in a lot of crap. I'm allowed to say crap. It's Manchester, we do it differently. I said before, raise money when you don't need it. Get the model right and grow. Some people will grow first and like, oh my God, well, make sure you know our business model's 10 to 15% net profit. I know how much is consulting, how much is products, how much is managed services. I know that works. And that's the same at 1 million as it is at 10 million, at 100 million. So getting that model right for a business, some people will just try and grow and grow and grow, and then suddenly go, oh, the model's wrong. Well, you're stuffed then, basically. You've got a load of customers paying you the wrong price, very hard to change. Importance of consistent focus and drive. So 300k in the first year, around 50 million now. Any mathematicians in the room? That's 150 times, roughly. Do you agree? So in 20 years, that company's grown 150 times the first year. So that's consistent growth. It's about a 20-30% a year growth. But it just shows you the power of compounding and the power of consistency and keeping on and keeping on and keeping on. And actually, a lot of people want to get rich quick, and it doesn't happen very often, unless you invent Instagram. But to be honest, how many of those happen? So just one last thing about giving back. Something that I've found in terms of business, it's very, very rewarding. But actually, until you give back to your community, until you get out there and see young people and help them, then for me, what's the point? You're not going to take it with you. So I'd just like to mention a charity that I support out in Harper Hay called the Factory Youth Zone. They take young people and they get them work ready and they get them off the street. Fantastic place. About 5,000 kids a week. They do employability training. They're intervening much earlier. They've got kids of 8 and 9 doing drama, etc. It's like Bolton Lads and Girls Club, if anybody's ever seen that. If you can, get up there, volunteer. We should have lots more of those around the city. It shouldn't just be in one place, by the way. I just think it really does make a difference. And the other one I talk about is apprenticeships. If any of you are in business, taking an apprentice on makes a difference to your business. Young people know a lot more about technology than we do. And they're using it in different ways than we ever imagined only 20 years ago. And for you guys, some of you look younger than me, so that's fine. So maybe 5 years ago. So it makes a difference. And I think, we do have to, I know I'm in a university environment here, but we do have to understand that vocational training is sometimes better than the academic training. And apprenticeships really work for that, because it's generally a job with training, and we get young kids onto the ladder of work quickly. I think then sometimes they will come back, actually, talking to the MMU about the legal apprenticeships that are now going on into the higher apprenticeships. I think it's about a balance, and I think we've got to get that right to get, don't want just an arbitrary number of 50% of young people going to university. That's just silly. Building up debts that maybe they can't afford. Let's get them into the right places. And we've got over 20,000 unemployed people in Manchester, and this is a shout out I give to all businesses: get an apprentice, and that goes away. Simple as that. So, in summary, hopefully I'm on time. So take action, have fun. Hopefully you can see I'm an energetic guy. A&S should reflect that. So as a leader, if you start a business, that's what your business will reflect. It will reflect your DNA. Ask better questions. Don't be afraid to burn those boats. Raise money when you don't need it. Take on better people than yourself, and don't forget to give back, because it feels amazing. And most of all, JFDI. Thank you. Thank
you very much, Scott. I think you've certainly captured the spirit of Manchester and its entrepreneurial spirit. So thank you very much. We've time for 2 or 3 questions for Scott before I invite Melissa up to the stage. So we have a roving mic somewhere. So would anybody like to ask Scott a question?
Yeah. Hi.
Hiya.
Is it on? Okay. Just a quick question. What are the top 3 things that have changed in you over the 23 years that you've been doing the business, or what are the 3 things that are your core values that you've kept?
3 things: core values, passion, drive, determination. Probably that's that. What's changed is being more patient, realising you can't do it all yourself, and the giving back bit, because I've now got time to do it. I don't think you can do it in an early stage business, although you can try. Social entrepreneurs do it by the DNA of the business, actually. So, I think that they're the key differences, I'd say, in terms of my personal development. Just getting on with it. Was there somebody over here?
Next question.
You've been in your business for a long time. How would you say the entrepreneurs of this era is different from the people when you started your business?
It's not.
Same.
Because it's get on with it. You know, you look at Branson, Stelios, all these guys. They got on with it. They didn't. You know, when Stelios started EasyJet, as an example, was anybody telling him that's the thing to do? Was everybody saying, "Oh no, you can't possibly do that with the airline industry. That won't work." And that's the difference. Entrepreneurs get on with it and they get it done. And I think that as I was sort of driving in this morning, actually, that was what the thought that came into my head. Because it's like, well, what's different? If we're looking ahead, if this business, like the title's about where's it going? Well, nothing's changed. It's just about people.
Yeah, but we are trying to produce entrepreneurs, the one
Yes.
who cannot be if we don't give the support mechanism. So what is your opinion on that?
Get them climbing trees. And if they say no, get them off the course. Do you know what I mean? Because they're not going to climb a tree, they're not going to take a risk. You know, I would say it's those things rather than anything else, actually. Because you can teach the skills. I can teach them social media, I can teach them all those sort of things, but I can't teach them to go and take a risk. It's either in the DNA or not. Yeah, go on, give it a round of applause then if you want. Yes. You can't. No, you can't. All right, well, I'll tell you what then. You get somebody that won't go up a tree and we'll teach them to get up there.
I do something else.
Yes.
But what I do is I get them out of their comfort zone.
Good.
And I
Yes.
do that consistently.
And you'll get them closer there than, yeah, I agree. I agree totally, yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you, one of the things that I did personally, I read a couple of books. One that was huge for me, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that talked about a lot of that. And also attending Tony Robbins' events, which is all about the psychology of life and business and everything else. So I do agree that you can get people further forward. I think unless that's built into them somehow, and that might help them find that fire, you're right. But unless they've got that, you won't get them up the tree. Okay. You won't get them into business.
Thank you. One last question.
Great business people have an ability to be able to bend around the corner to see what's coming next. How do you manage that in a fast-paced moving industry?
Do you know what? It's interesting because I always say the IT industry seems to move really slowly sometimes, but then suddenly it catches you off guard and moves really quickly. An example of that would be TalkTalk when they brought in the free broadband. Would be, you know, it's not particularly IT, but say Late Room's coming in with a different model for that industry, say AO.com changing. So it comes from nowhere really quickly. What you can spot is trends, but I don't think you spot those sort of defining moments. I think you've just got to be really aware of what's going on. So my industry now, the threat is the cloud, actually. So we've embraced that. We said, okay, the cloud, it could either be a threat or it could be something that we work with. So we're working with Amazon and everybody else. So it's difficult, but it does move very slowly then quick. And I can't really describe it any better than that. And you've just got, what you mustn't do, by the way, is if you're spotting a trend, move to it too quickly. Because actually what you do, you've got a business that works. I mean, we're still supporting customers with 10-year-old technology. No, you wouldn't get into business doing that now, but they're paying me, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds a year to do it. So why wouldn't you do it? So I think you've got to be really careful that you don't want to run a two-tier business. This is losing money, get shut. But if it's making you money, don't be silly and run over there and then suddenly go bust, because that's what some companies have done. Or they sell that non-core business and they get on with it. I personally don't think that's particularly right. I think there's a time, and it's about timing that when you do it. Is that it then?
Yeah,
okay.
Scott,
cool.
Thank you very much.
Is that all right? Okay.
Now, Scott has kindly agreed to stay till the end of the plenary session, so if anybody does have a burning question as we break for coffee, please feel free to engage again with Scott. Okay, I'd now like to welcome up onto stage Melissa Burton. Let me just introduce Melissa briefly to you. Melissa is the founder of Lancashire's hypergrowth business, Goody Good Stuff. And, don't rustle too much, but we're all going to get one of these. It's very exciting. She has established one of the fastest growing consumer brands in the world, securing 20,000 global stockists and then selling Goody Good Stuff to Swedish confectionery giant Cloetta plc, but all within 27 months. She continues to control UK and US operations and is in the process of launching FTN, the UK's first super drink. Melissa, please tell us more.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I'm really honored to have been asked to speak to you today. I've been asked to tell you a little bit about my personal journey as an entrepreneur in hopes that you can take some learnings from that will help you in what you're doing right now to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. And the candies will be available soon. I think they're passing them out. So feel free to enjoy as I talk. So, let's see. Right, so as you can probably hear from my voice, I'm not a local UK resident. I was actually born in New York, and I moved to the UK on a study abroad at Lancaster Business School. During my management program there, I actually started my first company when I was 23, and so the UK government allowed me to stay because we were employing 3 people by the time I finished my study program. I sold that company after about 6 years, and I took the capital that I raised from that sale to start what is now what I consider my life's work, Goody Good Stuff. I'm a vegetarian, and at the time that I came up with the idea for Goody Good Stuff, I'd been a vegetarian for over 10 years. And if anyone knows, basically regular gummy sweets are made with gelatin, which comes from boiled down animal bones and skin, which make it not suitable for people like me, vegetarians, and also several other groups like halal, kosher, etc. So I really, really missed gummy sweets and bacon. And so I decided, right, we've got to find a way to get some alternatives out there that are safe for me. And we haven't figured out the bacon thing yet, but you never know. I've got ideas about that. I've always had a massive, strong belief in natural foods. Growing up in the United States, we have a massive problem with genetically modified ingredients and artificial colors and flavors in our food supply. Luckily, in the UK, it's much of a lesser issue because of the rules and regulations in the EC. But that was important for me to have a natural product that was vegetarian. And then my mother and my grandmother were both teachers in New York City and New York State for, 40 years plus. And they told me about the problems they had with their classes. So many different children, so many different dietary requirements. When they had a celebration or when they had an opportunity to give out a treat to the class, there was absolutely nothing that they could give to the whole class. And so my mom said, "Sweetie, if you can find something that's safe for everybody, that will be a winner." So those became my goals when I started to think about what I wanted to develop with Goody Good Stuff. The name Goody Good Stuff comes from a saying in America, which is quite popular, goody goody gumdrops. And the Kobe koala bear mascot that we have to this day that you'll notice on your little pack comes from when I was developing the brand. I wanted a vegetarian mascot. So koala bears and panda bears are the only vegetarian bears. And the panda was already taken by those licorice people. So that was like, out goes the panda. But also at the same time, there was those horrible forest fires in Australia. This picture at the top there is quite an iconic photo of a koala bear being rescued out of the forest fires in Australia. And so one of the first things I did was I chose the koala bear, and we set up a donation fund for the brand that basically sponsors a koala sanctuary in Australia from day one. So that's how it started. So what exactly is Goody Good Stuff? Goody Good Stuff was developed with a revolutionary new innovative plant-derived hydrocolloid. It's quite a mouthful. But basically what we did was we worked with different plants and developed a gelling agent, something that turns a liquid into a solid or a semi-solid. And we found that there was lots of them around that were made with seaweeds or seaweed derivatives, but that they were not very bouncy, not like the traditional gummy that you're used to. So what we did was we found a way to make them out of freshwater plants. And actually our gelling agent we use today comes from a lily pad, comes from the bottom membrane in the lily pad. So we combine that with natural fruit juice, plant extracts, herbs, and glucose, which is derived from root vegetables. And that makes a product which is safe for everyone to eat. Goody Good Stuff has over 21 call-outs, which are very trendy at the moment, but which are very important to me regardless of trendiness, because it means that our product is inclusive and anyone can enjoy it. It's free from gluten, dairy, soy, eggs, nuts, tree nuts, caseins, and wheat. It's 100% natural and GMO-free. It's halal, kosher, vegan, and vegetarian. And it's the only confectionery or snack of its kind in the world that is literally safe for anyone to eat. So a little history about our brand that they've already kind of led on to, but I launched Goody Good Stuff on September 27th, 2010, and it is now the fastest growing confectionery brand in the world. We sell around about 500,000 units of the product a month at the moment. And in the heavy months that we're coming up to now, we sell over 1 million bags a month, which is very exciting for me because I remember when I sold like 3,000 bags and I was like, yes. And now, obviously, it's considerably higher scale to that. You can buy Goody Good stuff all over the UK. It's in Tesco, Asda, Waitrose, on Virgin Trains, Spar Shops, Superdrug, Costco. But more importantly, we have 15,000 stores across North America that sell Goody Good stuff, including 7-Eleven, Target Corporation, and CVS, which are massive retailers and huge contributions to our total P&L in the business. We export to 32 foreign markets, including Hong Kong, Australia, all over the Middle East, where the product is very well-fitting because of its halal nature and the vegan nature. And we have 20,000 worldwide outlets that sell the product on a daily basis. And that was really quite amazing because brands can be in the market for 20 years and never hit that number. And to do it in under 3 years was quite fantastic. Social media has been a key driver of our growth, and as a challenger brand who spent pretty much all of their development capital on R&D, we had to find creative ways in order to spread the word about our product without massive advertising funds, and I'll talk a little bit about that. One of the changing game changers for our brand was when we were recommended on television in the United States by Oprah Winfrey, and that was the Oprah effect is real, it does work, and it was quite amazing. So. Here's a little comparison chart that I show to, most of the time I show this to retail buyers when I'm selling the products into new stores. But I think it's interesting for people just to see the difference. As you can see, Goody Good stuff's at the top, green checks all the way along, fantastic. But as we go down, you'll see why so many of these other mainstream products aren't suitable for everyone and why Goody Good stuff represents something unique and very innovative in the market, giving it the opportunity to grow as fast as it could. If we just developed another candy, I wouldn't be standing in front of you today. You really, when you're creating something and you're going into entrepreneurship, you need to be offering something different and new, especially when you're going to go into a market which is led by heritage businesses that have huge amounts of money and like a stranglehold in your marketplace. So we've got Haribo Star Mix next, which is by far and away the market leader. And a lot of people find it interesting that Natural Confectionery Company is worse than them. Very clever marketing, but not actually the truth about the Natural Confectionery Company. They say they use natural ingredients, but they use things like copper chloride as a color. And is it natural? Yes, it's found in sand. But would you eat sand? No, not really. So actually, it's not as good as they make it out to be. And then Percy Pigs sell 30 million units of this product a year in one retailer. It's very impressive, but for vegetarians, Percy Pigs is made with bits of real pigs, so not suitable for everyone. And then you've got Maynard's Wine Gums. But as you can see, by offering something totally different and suitable for everyone, we were able to grow into a very heritage-led market. These are some of the trends that are currently taking over the current grocery retail across not just the UK, but the world, which have, again, helped to boost our brand. Healthy snacking is growing by 44% over 2 years. A third of Americans eat vegetarian products on a regular basis. 12 million people in the United Kingdom now call themselves flexitarians or vegetarians, which is crazy, which is more than doubled since 2009. The halal market is 1.6 billion customers worldwide, literally growing by 10% on a year-on-year basis. That is crazy. That is an absolutely massive market, which a lot of people are not catering for, which I think is a huge development opportunity. And the free-from industry in the UK is representing double-digit growth, which is very impressive in a very stagnant grocery market. 25 million people in the UK, 40% of the population, now feel that they have some sort of food allergy or have someone in their household that has a food allergy, which shows us, why they're seeing growth of 25% year on year. And Goody Good stuff is all of these things, so very helpful indeed. We currently offer products for all different markets in about 26 different flavors. When I started out, I had 8 flavors in one size, and I learned a lot. Your packaging has a lot of a job to do for you. It is your, 3.7 seconds that you get the consumer's attention at the point of sale. And we've made lots of amends to that packaging. We've made lots of new sizes like the ones you're trying now so that people can have portion control, pass out products for things like Halloween and goodie bags and when kids take stuff to share with friends. And now we have, I think over 100 SKUs now in all those different markets, which is impressive. 24-month shelf life, and the other cool thing about the line is the gelling agent has a melting point of 325 degrees Celsius, which means that you can bake it in a cupcake in the oven and it doesn't melt, which our friends in the Middle East, etc., very much like because they don't need chilled storage or transport. So what's the difference and why did we get so far so quickly? Basically, we believe that consumers are intelligent and they deserve the best, that we have a very grateful position to make money and have a business in our community, and that we give back. And from the day one when I started the company, we've given back 10% of our top line to charities and local community charities, and that is part of our DNA. And that's not because it's trendy, it's because, like Scott said, it's absolutely vital that the moment you have enough that you start to give something back. And for our environment, our products are made in fair trade environments. All of our ingredients are fair trade. We don't make things in special economic zones. No child labor is used in the making of our products. Our business is carbon negative. Our factories run on recycled rainwater, wind power, solar energy. Because this is not trendy. This is a way of life. And a lot of people might say, oh, well, that's very nice for social responsibility. I'll tell you what the nicest thing about it is, not paying British gas. That's the nicest thing. And is it wonderful and is it our DNA? Yes, but that is the best thing, is not getting utility bills anymore. So those are the reasons why the business, I think, has created a resonance, a truth and honest message that resonates with our customer. And by treating our customer with the respect that we would expect we would be treated by family, we have built a relationship with the people that have our product, and that stays stronger and stronger as we go. This is our current customers, some of them. I could have made this slide even busier than it is. But it's, just impressive to look at a brand starting from absolutely nothing to trading with some of the biggest corporations in the world in such a short space of time. And the reason that we were able to do that was a bit what Scott said. When I started this, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I sat in front of a buyer who was in charge of 800 stores, and I tried to give him a 29-slide presentation. And if you know anything about retail, that's ridiculous. You get 5 slides, maximum 15 minutes. But God bless the man. He let me give him the presentation. I walked out of the meeting with $250,000 order, and that allowed me to bankroll the business to go forward because I'd spend all the money. We couldn't turn the lines on. So what does that mean going forward? How did we get there? Because there was no other option. If I hadn't made the business work, if I hadn't continued in the very difficult times, A, I would have gone bankrupt, and B, it was not an acceptable outcome. It was not in the realm of acceptable outcomes that I allowed myself to see. And so because of that, we were able to push through. And the second reason, it's not enough to get the retailer to take the product into the store. When you have a fast-moving consumer good or a consumer brand of any kind, you have a very challenging job of spreading the word to a mass market. And when you have absolutely no money, and I do mean negative money at this point, it is even more challenging because people in the bigger brands will be spending $50 million a year on just marketing to the UK. And our job is to market to all 32 of our export countries with a budget that is still to this day in the low 5 figures. Okay, so the reason and the way that we're able to do that is effective and cheap win-win marketing. You don't hear that very often, but it's true. And what you have to do is be smarter and utilize the IT and the technology and the social media available to us. And so that's what we do. So we do in-store activities, giving out samples, giving out koala bears. This is a very simple and old-fashioned method, but it's incredibly good if your product tastes good. If your product doesn't taste good, don't do sampling. It's not a good way to do it. PR, in my opinion, is so much more effective. I would go so far as to say 100 times more effective than advertising. And because we had no money to do advertising, we had to do PR as a no-choice option, but what it's ended up doing is building a really strong repertoire of different people, influencers, editors of magazines and newspapers and television shows that are not being paid to endorse our product, but they're actually recommending it because they've tried it and they liked it and they recommend it to their readers, to their viewers, etc. I mentioned Oprah before, but literally, we've been featured in all of these publications and many, many more. We probably get around about 2.5 to 3.5 features a week at the moment, and this is all done in-house. We have a list of editors, we send them out parcels, we have a list of their features list, we send them information about new items, and on the back of that, we've had all of this with a bit of spit and shine elbow grease and hardly any money at all. The cost of the postage to get them the samples, that's it. And how effective it's been, absolutely amazing. Awards and accolades, the brand and myself have both been very lucky to receive a lot of awards, and this has been very helpful in kind of getting people to take a chance on something that's brand new because they've got that confidence from the recommendation that this is an award-winning brand, and we're very, very indeed honored and humbled to have received these accolades. And then celebrities. And don't feel really guilty if you don't recognize any of these people. Because many times I've been sat with a buyer and they're like, who are those people? And I'm like, don't worry. These are actually people who are influencers for, like, I don't know, let's call it 14 to 19s. But we do really work with celebrities for one reason, Twitter. Twitter is amazing. One Direction tweeted us the other day. They have like a cumulative 25 million people that follow them on Twitter. And in one instant, 25 million people found out about Goody Good Stuff. I honestly can't think of another way that you could possibly do that. And for, again, the cost of a postage stamp for a parcel of sweets. And we're very lucky that with our brand and the specialty of the brand, we can literally look at current events, look at current announcements. Beyonce went vegan. She got a parcel of sweets. She tweeted about it. Lady Gaga is on a gluten-free world tour. She got some sweets. So we're able to utilize these relationships that we can create very quickly and low-costly to get some tweets that have made a massive, massive increase in brand awareness for us with very little cost. And then athletes. This is something that Goody Good Stuff can do that I don't think really a lot of other candy brands could do. Because of the nature of our product, because the glucose comes from vegetables, because it's totally clean, because it's gluten-free, we have a lot of athletes that use it for glucose replenishment. When you're doing high levels of cardiovascular exercise and weight training, your body needs glucose to power your brain and your muscles so that you can be as effective as you possibly can be during your training to become as good as you possibly can when you finally compete. So we have 29 Olympic athletes, 7 gold medalists. Usain Bolt follows us on Twitter. And then all of these people, all we do is send them little parcels of sweets. Good luck with your training. We're cheering you on. Here's some Goody Good Stuff to keep you going. And they tweet about it as a thank you for what we've done. And the funny thing is, when they're running out, they just tweet us, oh no, just ran out of my Goody Good Stuff. And they know we're watching it. And so they know that we'll send them more as soon as they tweet that, which is quite smart. Well done. So that's another thing that we work with in our marketing. And then social stats. So I think the single biggest game changer in marketing over the last 10 years is by far and away social media. I think that's for many reasons. One, people check their Facebook on an average of 17 times a day. 83% of those times are mobile. That means on your phone, on your tablet, while you are out of home, where you are closer to your point of purchase. So if you wanted to spend 10 million pounds on a TV advertisement, one, you couldn't target your customer perfectly because you can judge kind of by who's watching a certain show, but not perfect. But with Facebook, what you can do is we can go onto Facebook and we can put, I want to target women from 18 to 65 who have an interest in veganism and who live within 20 miles of a Tesco that sells my product. And only those people will see the notification, Goody Good Stuff is now available in your local Tesco. That is amazing. And the cost of reaching that customer is 0.0003 pence per access to that consumer. Whereas if you talk about television, you're talking around about £1.70 per access to true target customer. This has allowed me to spread brand awareness for our product across 33 countries with a budget in the low 5 figures and consistently get results that make our brand one of the best recognized brands online. And more importantly, if you're aware, I don't know if anybody is studying social media at the moment, if you're aware of it, but there's a new measurement tool about brands' clout, effectiveness, access to consumers online. It's called DSI. It stands for Digital Sentiment Index. And Goody Good Stuff has just started participating in this. We scored 53 compared to Haribo, which has 19.9, and Mao-M, which has 20.6. The people who do this test basically read everything that anyone's written about you all across the internet, and then they judge the sentiment of it. So if you've got a lot of conversations, but people are going, this stuff is horrible, obviously that's bad, that brings your score down. But if people are saying positive things, then that brings your score up. That is an incredible score for a brand of our age, with our advertising budget to have, and I'm incredibly proud of it. And it just shows what you can do with a bit of thinking, a bit of learning about social media, and a bit of elbow grease. That's all it takes. Here's some examples of some of the posts that we use. We're never commercial on our social media. We never say, go buy our product. People are on there to be social. They don't want to be sold to. If you create things that are funny, inspirational, or adorable, people will share it and will enjoy engaging in your content. So that is what we intend to do, and that's what we have been quite successful with. And then lastly, exporting. 70% of Goody Good Stuff's turnover comes from export. It is absolutely vital, not just for our business, but for the UK in general, that more small to medium enterprises start exporting to build a stronger foundation so that the next time a bit of a bump in the economic road comes, we have a foundation that will stand us in a better stead. We need to be selling more outwards and taking less in. It's pretty simple if you think about it. But the UK economy is also not that biggest economy in the world. We have open trade across all of Europe, which to an American is crazy good. And obviously, I think when I sell, for example, to Amsterdam, I can get product from England to Amsterdam cheaper than I can get it from Nuneaton to London. And then you're able to say, oh, I'm exporting to the Netherlands. And that money is coming back into the UK and helping us build a stronger foundation for the UK. So those are the reasons why we do it. But why is it so easy? Why is it so easy? Well, the UK is renowned all over the world as purveyors of excellence, heritage, quality. And that is not just for candy, that is for everything. The way we do business is well respected. And with the fact that the UK is literally famous right now on the back of the Olympics and the Queen's Jubilee and Wills and Kate and then the baby and now baby number 2. Everybody is talking about the UK every day and in a very, very positive way. And it's not just a right of small to medium enterprises in the UK, but it's a responsibility that we utilize that amazing reputation that has been built over time to go out and help build a stronger economy going forward. Doesn't hurt that English is the world language of business. To be honest, people go, oh, do you have to translate everything? No, you don't. And we don't. We've never translated the front of our pack ever. And I think that's an amazing thing, because if we were in the Netherlands and everything we did was in Dutch, that would be a completely different story. And we need to take that on board. So that's the reason that we do that, and that's the reason why we've been able to gain this world reach in less than 4 years in the market. We sell our products all over China now. I'm actually going to China on Sunday to do another show with them. We sell to Brazil, we sell to Mexico, we sell all over North America, all over the EU zone. But when I look at this map, when I do this with my team, I'm like, look at all that white space. What is that? We need to sort that out. Someone come up with a plan. So I think it's that attitude that, is that wonderful? Yes, pat on the back. But what else are we going to do to further to grow our business and to spread the Goody Good Stuff brand around the world? So I'm going to leave you with a couple of lessons that I've learned over the last 3.5 years, starting completely on my own in my third bedroom for 18 months, feeling a little lonely, but persevering, to where we are now, where I have a team of 25, and we have export teams all over the world, and where we sell, around about 1 million bags of sweets a month, and how we've got to there. So let go of the fear of failure. This was a big issue for me. And I'm very happy that I'm finally over it. But like Scott said, every single unsuccessful attempt is a step closer to where you're trying to go and an opportunity to learn. And being afraid of failing is the single biggest barrier people will have to taking the plunge to be entrepreneurial in the first place. They need to realize that it's not fatal to fail, and that actually, if you meet someone who says they got there without failing, they're full of baloney. Find something that you're passionate about and trust your instincts. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, to start your own business, to go off that ledge, if you're not super passionate, if you don't feel it in your lifeblood, you will not succeed. It's very, very difficult. There are a lot of times where you'll come across situations where you feel incredibly stressed, very pressured, almost to the brink of nervous breakdown. I've been several times. And if your passion is strong enough, it will carry you forward. So you need to make sure that you have that. Don't give experts too much credit. Many of them are full of baloney. And that's an American phrase, full of baloney. I don't know if you guys, baloney is this horrible meat that's like a mix of all the meats. Anyway, it's bad. So don't give experts too much credit. When I started my business, so many people came to me. Oh, well, I can show you how to do this, and I can show you how to do that, and oh, I can take you to the blah, blah, blah. Don't pay those people too much mind. If they knew all that stuff, why would they not be doing it for themselves? That's what I always ask. Remember, the easy way and the right way are never the same way. And the harder choice is usually the right choice. And that actually applies to everything in my life. And I think that's quite a good check and balance that it's good to ask yourself. But we don't celebrate people that take the easy way every time, do we? There's no award for the easiest way, is there? And I think that's anything worth doing is difficult, and any accomplishment worth celebrating had some struggle to get to where it came from. Do not be afraid of the recession. Now, touch wood, it looks like things are getting better. But when I started Goody Good Stuff, we were in the middle of it, and everybody said, no one is going to pay more money for candy. There's no way. Don't believe them. People will always pay for quality, especially when it's about things that they treat themselves with or food that they give to themselves, their family, and their children. People will always see value if you are representing true quality. And so don't be afraid of that. If your price is higher, make sure that you are 100% sold on why, and purvey that and communicate that to the consumer effectively. Love your customer like your family. Every single thing I make, I would be very proud to sit down at a table with my family and serve them. And the day that stops is the day that we go, phew. Because if you treat the customer like a moron, and if you don't love your customer, then you have no business being in business, basically. Square peg, round hole, find another hole. When I first started GGS, I went to every major retail company in this country. Nobody would give me a meeting. Not Sainsbury's, Asda, Waitrose. They did not want to know. So instead of thinking, oh, well, guess what? This idea is a bad idea. I guess we should probably just knock it on the head. I thought, no, square peg, round hole, this market isn't ready. Fine, let's go to another market. So we went to America, we found a buyer, and we got the start for our business. The first order I ever received was not even from the market where we were making the product. And if I had allowed that original feedback to stop me from where I was going, again, I wouldn't be here today. So I think that's important to remember. And then practicing the mirror philosophy. In everything that we do, in Goody Good Stuff, we have this everywhere. It's that you should project out into the world that which you would like to have reflected back at you. And that is a pretty simple thing. But no matter where you are, whether it's in a personal situation or a business exchange, if you actually take that on board and behave in that manner, you will never, ever offend anyone, and you will never see yourself in a position where you regret. And I think that's very important indeed. And that is all for me.
Thank you very much, Melissa. That was fantastic. And thank you also for setting Nigel a new challenge to get One Direction following #ISBE 2014. And I particularly was watching the tweets coming through, and one of them was, 300, who was it? 300 academics chewing Goody Good Stuff. Yeah, thank you very much for that one at the end. We have time for a couple of questions to Melissa, so I'd like to throw that open to the floor, please. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi.
I'm so happy that I'm first.
Thank you.
I work at the United Nations conference.
Yeah. We saw it in 7-Eleven Mexico and Walmart Mexico.
Okay. And I want to know, how long did it take you since the time you had the idea and to launch the company and to start? How long was that?
It took me about 9 months, and that was basically the process of deciding that I was going to do it, creating a business plan, because like Scott said, you have to have some focus, especially in that creative stage, or you'll be all over the place, because ideas, people often have lots of ideas, and you need to pick one to focus on. But then really the time that it took from when I made the decision to when we launched the brand was really spent on R&D. Playing in my kitchen with different flavor profiles, different shapes, coming up with the voice of the brand, what was our mission statement, those kinds of things, and then creating the design for the actual logo and the packaging that I wanted to be, our window to the world, I suppose. And so that took about 9 months. But when I got to that period, when I started it in September, I literally had not made an actual product off the line at that point. I had made a trade mock-up and glued it together with hair straighteners and brought that into my first buyer meeting with a bag, like a kilo bag of commercial trial samples to let them see what it actually tasted like. And that at that point, when we got the order, we were actually able to go back to the manufacturer and make product for the first time. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a mic here. Can I use it?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I would like to know whether you consider yourself a social entrepreneur, and if so, how do you reflect that in your KPI?
I think one of our pillars, what we call our pillars, is that we give back to our community. And we don't have as it a KPI, but from day one until this day, we've given back 10% of our top line to local charities. As a rule, we don't support the national charities because we don't believe it's the best way for us to make an impact, and one where we can actually go out to the community and see that impact happening. Just last Friday, we spent the day at 5 children's hospitals with Kobe Koala Bear giving out Halloween candy to children that were not able to go out and trick or treat. So that kind of thing is one thing, but actually donating products and money to local charities is 10%.
Sorry, just coming back. Don't you believe that the fact that you are promoting healthy food and promoting, solving a major health issue like obesity in the countries you sell, don't you think this is a social mission? I would consider, that there is a social value in what you do. And if it is captured in the way you project your enterprises, you will make a better impact, in my opinion. I don't know whether you agree.
Yeah, I do a lot of talks on healthy eating. We actually do quite a bit with Tesco. They have a program where they'll bring in like groups of 200 kids at a time, and they get little talks about healthy eating and making healthy choices. And so we do a lot of that. I think when I started the business, a business has to make money in order for it to continue to make an impact. And so at the end of the day, if I started focusing 100% on giving back socially and doing talks and stopped running my company, then that would, I think, be the wrong choice. But what I'm excited about going forward is the bigger we get, the more we can educate people about what ingredients are in food. That's a side product that we get as an opportunity, as the bigger our brand gets, to project those messages out and have people listen to them and to take them on board. So, yeah, absolutely. I think it's incredibly important. It's what I think about every day is what should be granted, but I realize that people don't all know about healthy eating, and so it is important that we tell people, yeah. Okay. Yes. Hello. Oh, God.
An amazing brand.
Thank you.
One of the things that in your cider industry is to build a brand. But once you've established that, do you think you'll go into other areas, rather than the gummy bears? Because I would buy your stuff, whether it be gummy bears, whether it be vegetarian food, whatever. So what are your plans there? We're making vegan marshmallows right now. They'll be ready for next year. And then we've got our first ever Goody Good stuff with stevia coming out, which will be 100% safe for diabetics. So those are my first 2 projects that are ongoing for next year. After that, we have been asked by a few other people, would you be willing to do something in like fruit juices and children's products? Absolutely. I think if you build a good brand, you have to be quite precious about what you attach it to. But yeah, I hope that the brand will one day be the go-to brand for people looking for products that are safe for everyone to eat. Yeah, because that aspartame is a big problem.
Huge, and we would never touch it. It's not safe. Stevia is the only one. Even xylitol, which is natural, causes laxative effects in children, and it's not. I don't believe it's safe for kids. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. I'm just listening to your fairy tale, the success story.
Oh.
I have a question. It's a different question. I'm Nahid. I'm from Manchester, originally from Bangladesh. I'm just wondering to listen one of your barrier when you're starting up your business, and that how the important barrier you can explain, and then how could you overcome that barrier from your starting up?
Absolutely. So I think Scott touched on this as well. I think any business that starts up, no matter what you're doing, whether it be services or products, is the fundraising in the beginning. So I had a certain amount of money, and I brought some friends in to contribute to our startup capital. But what we didn't realize is that the costs of R&D are very high. And so we got to a point where we'd finish our development, we had pretty pictures, but we had nothing to actually sell. And so that was very frightening, to be honest. I lost a lot of sleep over that. But what we ended up doing was creating trade mock-ups, relatively low cost, going out and attending expositions where we actually got partial grant funding from UK Trade and Investment, which if you are doing export, you need to reach out to them. They're amazing and they're here to help, and it's incredible. And then basically going into buyer meetings, getting a signed PO from a blue chip company, being able to take that to my bank and say, here is a signed PO from a blue chip company. I need you to take a view on this. And then, obviously negotiating with them. That way I didn't have to give up more equity. And at that point, our business was too new. If we would have taken on other capital from an angel or from any type of other traditional investment mechanism, I would have probably had to give up 50%, something crazy, which would have been a bad decision. And the banks are, if there are bankers in here, I apologize. I think the banks are funny because when I started my company, they're like, yeah, we'll give you $200,000 if you put $200,000 on deposit. And I'm like, that's so helpful. If I had the money, I wouldn't be in here talking to you, wasting my time. So I think, but going to your bank manager with a PO from a blue chip, looking at invoice factoring, that was what got us to the point where we could start. When you're making a product and selling it on, cash flow is huge. And invoice factoring, those types of mechanisms can really help a business go forward without having to wait for checks coming in before you can go to your next opportunity, which is key. No worries. Hello.
Well, can I just one last question?
Okay, sorry.
I'll
be in the coffee bit. So if anyone has any other questions,
the back of the hand up.
Sorry. Hi.
How easy or challenging is for you to operate in a hyper-competitive environment? And the second question is, what is the role of your personal motivation on your success?
Okay, so super hyper-competitive environments, which Candy is, we're competing against. Haribo turns over almost $4 billion a year, so you can imagine that's a pretty big competitor to be going against. How do we do it? We do it by not trying to go up against them in their own game. Goody good stuff. If I just tried to launch another gummy and go up against Haribo, that would be a fool's errand. But what we did was we launched something different, and funnily enough, in a market niche that they thought was not important. They thought it was small potatoes. They thought free from and vegetarian were, small niches that are not important. And maybe to them in their $4 billion a year, maybe they still feel that way. But by operating in a different sphere in the same category, we were able to gain access to retail. We were able to not price war against them. So Goody Good Stuff is, a little bit more expensive, about 15-20% more than Haribo. But we never get questioned on that because we're not offering like for like. We're offering something different. Without that, it would have been a no-goer from the get-go. And my motivation for keep going, when I was a young girl, I was with my family. I used to live with my mom and dad. I was at university, and I ended up not university. I was at high school, and I took a lot of university when I was in high school because they paid for you to go. But before we got into a lot of that, I used to ditch class a lot. I'm sorry about this if that offends anybody. And what would happen was my teacher would actually call, this recorded thing would call my mom and dad and say, your 11th grade student has been absent from one or more classes today without permission. And it used to drive my dad mental. And I said to my dad, he goes, what are you doing? And I said, well, I still have A's in all the classes. They can't kick me out. I'm still doing better than everyone in the class. And he said, you should never, ever judge yourself against other people. You need to be able to go to bed every single night and know that you did your best. And if you do that, then you will always sleep easy. You will have no regrets. And so the reason that I keep doing what I'm doing is because I know what I'm capable of. I know what my best is, and I know the feeling that I get when I've done it. And that's what I strive for on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
Okay.